you are able and willing, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you want to email it to myself?
Good evening, thank you all for coming. We have no one signed up to deliver public comment tonight, so we'll move directly into the report of the secretary. May I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, February 4th, 2026.
I'll second, Lisa.
Lisa, thank you. The usual sterling
Perfection.
job.
I know.
Yep.
Every time, any comments or questions?
Oh, it's
All in
amazing.
favor? That's 5-0. Very good. And it brings us to the report of the chair. That's me. Okay, next town officials meeting is going to be next week. That's true, yes? February 18th?
Yes, we
which
already
is-
meet on
We're going to do it even though it's, yeah, okay. So that'll be February 18th. Do we know who's hosting?
Zoom, right? Right?
It'll be all Zoom?
Town meetings on Zoom,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
So, as always, if you intend to attend, please let me know.
Yep.
Okay,
Invite, yep.
very good. Second, review of board workshop. We just had a fantastic workshop with the Rollinsford Board. We had a very detailed agenda, spent an hour talking about everything from our superintendent search status, general communications. I find that interesting. It feels like every time we talk about communications, we peel the onion back one more layer and we discover one or two things that are slipping through the cracks. So it's good to get those plugged. Update on the cell phone policy. We talked about transition from 6th to 7th. Potential immunization expectations and potential conflicts that may arise if new legislation happens. We talked about applying the Hawks transition support class to incoming 7th graders from Rollinsford, and they are in turn going to look at possibly implementing that curriculum for their 6th graders, so that would be cool too. And we talked about special education administration, and that appears to be working pretty well. So a very good workshop, and we hope to do that again in a few months.
Yep.
Great. Okay, next up, just a reminder that our next board meeting after tonight will be March 11th. We've rescheduled that from the 3-4 date because of conflicts, which actually puts us about a month from now.
Yeah, that's,
And that will be the budget
I'm gonna
presentation.
miss you guys.
that will be
Yeah,
the
that'll be the
budget.
presentation of the budget, and, yep, very good. Okay, last thing, I promised you all last week, an update on what I learned in Washington DC. I'll just hit some highlights from the two different sessions. We had a talk on civics education. It is a problem nationwide, not just the 3 branches of government, but more focus on how to engage and discuss basically civil discourse as part of
yeah.
civics education. I think we do pretty well in this district with that.
Yep.
But it was interesting to hear that the perspective of the person who gave that talk. Dr. Felton Moss is the National School Board Association. He's got a title that I won't remember, but he's basically their legislative liaison, and he's fantastic. He gave a talk. He cited a poll that said, this is topical, 59% of parents polled would send their kids to private schools if somebody gave them the money to do it.
Interesting.
You know, school choice and reassigning funds, it's very topical. But his main point in his talk, and I thought this was really good, was that school boards need to work to actively shift public perception about public schools. And here in Maine, like at the state level, the MELPLC, the Maine Education Leaders Professional Learning Collaborative, has a couple of initiatives. Maine Loves Public Schools, the Learning from Maine videos. By the way, we ought to look at,
Yeah.
think about whether there's something in our district going on that we could make a topic of one of those Learning from Maine videos. I'd love to see that.
Oh, good. Of course you did.
Excellent.
She's amazing.
I have
I
a
love that.
Is it Holly Blair?
might be, is it at the MSMA office?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to
Right.
Yeah,
Robbie
I
about it.
sent her a couple things.
Yeah, that would be great. What else? There was a workshop on AI that was awesome. The main point I'll take away from it is that there is a National School Board Association AI Smart certification now that involves 3 core courses and 3 additional courses. I'll report back because I'm planning to register for and take those courses.
Okay.
To see
Yeah.
what that looks like.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to hear about it.
Me too.
Keynote speaker Tim Weiss, he gave a fantastic talk, I guess the main point of his was learning to practice what he called radical humility, which is that ability to sit and listen with an open mind and I guess be curious, not judgmental, right?
Yes.
It was a great talk. What else?
Sorry, Joe, what was his name?
Tim
Tim
Weiss.
Weiss.
It's spelled W-I-S-E, but I believe he pronounces it Weiss.
Okay.
W-E, as if.
Like
W-E-I-S,
Wise, but
yeah.
it's Weiss.
Yep.
Nice.
I think Eric might reach out to try to get him to our fall conference.
Oh,
I'll
cool.
keep you updated.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't just say something I shouldn't. We had a very good breakout session on special education advocacy. You all know the idea passed in 1975, committed to 40% funding level. It's currently funded at something like 14. So there's a big push to get Congress, and there's a couple of bills this term in front of Congress about full funding for special education. 39 states, Maine included, have special education teacher shortages, and money's a factor. So they're looking at things like there's an effort to modernize IDEA, which means looking at things like housing subsidies and tax incentives for special education teachers to go to places where it might otherwise not be worth their
Right.
while,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So
Exactly.
lots going on there.
Or make them pay
Federal
for
update, there were the two main cases in front of the Supreme Court this year, both involve transgender athletes. And both of those oral arguments were heard in January. Their decisions are expected in June. So we as a state, and we'll just have to keep attuned to that. There was a panel discussion during which I learned that Congressman Bobby Scott, who's the Virginia 3rd, is introducing a school infrastructure bill into the legislature. I don't know how far it'll get, but it's specifically for school construction money. It'd be great to see that happen. Protecting equity amid funding cuts. That was a huge
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah,
Ed Markey, Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts, gave the EndNote address. And he gave some stats. There are 5 million English language learners, 1 million newly arrived students, 620,000 children that are being educated that are undocumented, that are known to be undocumented. 4.7 million children with one or more non-citizen parents. All of that in the context of what's going on. There's, I have a note here somewhere. It was a Supreme Court decision in 1980-something that requires school districts to educate all children in the district regardless of their immigration status. And Plyler was the decision, and there's a bunch of, there's 3 states now that have passed laws that would charge the parents for the education if the child is undocumented, which would be a direct contradiction to Plyler. They're trying to get something up to the Supreme Court to see if they can get Plyler overturned. Anyway, I could go on for a long time, but I won't.
Wow.
If you're all interested, I can put these notes on our drive and have a look
Oh,
at them.
yeah,
great.
definitely,
I'll do
yeah,
that.
if you don't mind.
Don't let me forget.
They don't have to be super organized.
And can you forward the AI information?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
to
sure.
us
yeah, I'd
whenever
love
you
to
get
see
it?
that
Like,
Yep, absolutely.
Or
What
just
are
be
the
sure to give us
options?
an update, like,
Yep.
after you take it.
Will do. Okay, that concludes my report, brings us to the report of the superintendent.
All right, thank you. So the first item on my agenda tonight is a presentation from Mr. Rooney. He is going to share a historical overview of special services with us. So thank you, Mr. Rooney, for being here tonight. He's all wired up with a lav mic so we can walk around.
Oh, that's good.
I'm good? All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Before I start this presentation, I want to give a couple caveats. Number one, like a lot of the things you're going to see tonight, some I started, Some were started by other people. Some were started from conversations between Superintendent Caverly, Mrs. Early Hersey, and I. Some are started from the staff. So it's important for me not to make sure that credit is given ahead of time, because it's a special education presentation, but understand that special education has to do with regular education. It has to do with our relationships with our building administrators. It has to do how we work together, and it takes all of us to make some of the changes that you're going to see. Now, the next caveat's a little funny. So I was trying to put this presentation together because I see you maybe once or twice a year, and I give you a presentation, and this is a little different, right? This is like, what have we done? So first, I've got to remember everything we did the last 5 years, and I'm sure I missed things, and that would be more of a function of my memory rather than a function of somebody's value. So if I miss something, I apologize. But I was trying to figure out how to put this together, and actually I'll tell you a little story to start out, and then I'll go into the presentation, is my brother was a lifelong Air Force member, and he was stationed in Germany for his entire career, and it came time for him to move back after being a contractor, so he was there for like 50 years, right? And I had never been to Europe, and I had a brother that lived there, and he was moving back to Epsom, New Hampshire, so I had one summer, so we grabbed the kids. I think Jess and Chris were like 8th and 10th grade. And we went and we saw my brother in Stuttgart, and he toured us around 17 countries in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I was exhausted and a little angry with my kid at times, but because you know how kids can be. But I didn't understand why he was doing that until I got home, and I sort of applied that to this presentation. What he did was brought us to 17 different countries, so we got a taste of each thing. And then if we wanted more information or another experience, we could go back to that country on our own, right? And so that's sort of the frame, that's sort of the analogy that I'm going to give for this presentation. It's going to be quick, it's going to be surface, it's basically 5 years. And then for you, if you want to know something more about one of these slides, you can ask questions, of course. But I'm also willing to go develop a more in-depth presentation that goes over the details. So that was sort of my kind of intent for tonight.
This summer we waved at each other in Croatia.
It was the summer we were. So, another funny story before I start, I'm going to go over my 20 minutes, so Heidi and I didn't even work here. Did I work? No, I didn't work here yet. I was still a superintendent over in New Hampshire. And Heidi and I were friends because my wife actually knew her husband like 30, like forever. So we had known each other. And she posted a picture on Facebook of like this, or I did,
Yeah,
of like a floating gym. You know how they have those, the kids go out on the floating gym? And I think I texted her, I was like, I think you just drove by us. So,
That's crazy.
so that was part of that trip. So I just thought I'd give you, I'm going to give you some data, I'm going to give you some numbers. There's an anomaly, I'm going to explain it in a minute, and you're going to go, oh, because it took me a while to figure it out. So here's your history. I identified students within the districts. In 2021, you had about 250.
Is that bigger?
Or maybe just the lights.
Maybe we could dim the lights
Yeah.
just a little bit.
That would
Yeah.
help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. So
There we go. That's
if
so
you
much
can't see,
better.
these are the 5 years. These are the district percentages. These are the state percentages. These are the number of students, right? So if you look, we'll start in 2021. We're at 12.4% state. 12.4 was us. 18.6 was the state. Jump ahead. We're at 15.3. They're at 20.3. The lines sort of line up, but here's the anomaly. We started taking pre-K kids, and I still am having a hard time figuring out how they record the child count because it's done by the quarter, and how does that figure into an October 1 account? And I will figure that answer out, right? So where those 3 to 5-year-olds age in, or the 3-year-olds age in over the course of the year, your October 1 number is wild, right? It can swing. But the other issue is that when we look at the percentage of disabilities as opposed to enrollment, because I have 3-year-olds that are 100% special education, and we have no 3-year-olds that are typical peers, that's going to flirt with your percentages a little bit. That's my theory. So, you know, when I first saw this, I had 12 foot 50, well, that's 3. And then I looked and I was like, okay, so we're kind of in line, you know, identification rate with the state. And then if I look at that little number there and then subtract those 3-year-olds if I could, I think we're okay. You know, we're under the state average, well under the state average, but probably a little lower than 15%. So those numbers, as I present to you over the next couple of years, will become a little more static once I figure out and can look at how they're calculating pre-K enrollment. So another piece of data that I want you to have that I think is really important, right? Because it is sort of a barometer for your overall system. And that's the amount of your out-of-district placements. So from a systems perspective in special education, when I have a significant amount of students out of district, then what that says to me is you better start developing and improving some in-district program to deal with that, right? And you know, people talk about costly out-of-district placements, and they are costly, but in that year one, when a kid returns from placement, they're probably going to have adult support, right? So your first year cost is actually you're not saving a lot of money. But after that, as you build your capacity and you've built your staffing to deal with that, the next kid coming in, that'll drop off. But it really is a measure of the health of your school environment is the amount of out-of-district placements. Now, I'll also tell you that 23-24 was an interesting behavior year. And so you have a spike there. But if I look at 24-25, if I look at 25-26, if we didn't have 2 students move in from out of district that were already in out of district placements, that number would have been 16. And now next year, we're projected at 12. And there's reasons for that that are sort of scattered throughout this presentation that I'll try to tag into, okay? But let's talk about the fun stuff. So let's talk about the highlights. Unified Academics just started at the change of the semester at Marshwood High School. It's a team-taught class between Miss Murtha and Miss Redemaker, the library media specialist. And today I learned that they took the life skills kids to Dunkin' Donuts to practice communication and ordering skills with the typical. So I don't have any photos. I wasn't going to do photos in this one anyway, but I will say that you have a fascinating program that just started that I'd like to teach you about. So Unified Academics is an extension of Unified Sports, where we pair a typical peer with a student with a disability for sports. Well, now we do it for instruction. So we have a class that has our life skills teachers. It has Miss Murtha, our life skills student. We have Miss Murtha, our life skills teacher, and Miss Redemaker, and they teach a class with life skills kids where each life skills kid is paired with a typical peer who probably has an interest or wants to learn more about education or human services or some of the helping fields, and they get elective credit for that, and the student with a disability earns their English credit, literacy credit.
So good.
So, me and your former high school principal, Mr. Elwell, and Miss Murtha and Miss Redemaker in the spring took a trip up to Morris High School because they had a Unified Academics program and spent the day there. And I got to watch a fish dissection. I got to watch all sorts of stuff. But the last bullet's the most important. And that's something you didn't see. And we're looking forward. I told you, slide number 3 will get her. So we will we'll keep our optimistic eyes open. But I think we're really offering your typical students an experience that a lot of kids don't have, and I think we're offering our life skills students an experience that a lot of kids don't have, and I'm really, really proud of Marshwood High School.
How many students do we have?
Oh, boy.
Like about, like, is it 5 or is
I
it?
would say probably 5 to 8 life skills kids paired off. I think there's maybe 3 typical kids right now. I'd have to look. The problem is, I went to pull the roster. It shows the typical kids, but the other kids are rostered into the life skills classroom, so I didn't have time to sort of do that comparison there.
That's great.
So, but sounds to me like you want more information. All right. Unified academics is a form of co-teaching. However, we're talking about a little form of co-teaching here. We brought co-teaching, we know there's the data, right? And that's annual data. That's not cumulative data. That says that average you're going to grow 2.6 percentage points more than your peers in a co-taught classroom if you're appropriately placed there. So we know that we're looking to improve social emotional growth when we do that, reduce behavioral issues and enhance teacher collaboration. And the reduced behavioral issues was the first data point that came out of the staff 3 years ago was, So, and enhanced teacher collaboration. It's sort of fun to teach with someone else. It reduces the stress and the intensity. And it can be a really positive relationship. So co-teaching has been implemented at Great Works School. It was actually one parent in my first year who didn't want, that's how it started, who did not want their student at Great Works School taught in the resource room. They would really like him to have the opportunity to have that instruction in the regular setting, and we were able to do that with a teacher there, and that's how it started. So we've had co-teaching at Great Works and MMS implemented since 2023, and we're having conversations at the high school now because now those kids are sort of kind of used to that instructional model. Like I've got about 12 eighth graders and 12 in math and 11 in ELA, I think, coming up to the high school. So Dr. Gowers and I have been having lots of conversations with lots of different people, and we'll see where that goes. Adaptive PE. Again, this is one of these that, I can help you with the regulation, but it was your former superintendent and the special ed department and that tight relationship there, whatever that relationship is, that really, and Heidi, and Scott McNamara, and the fact that, what I didn't put in the slide is, the state of Maine, while requiring APE services, doesn't offer a certification program to do that, and they got in trouble for that. So the fact that we were close to the border worked out well, and all 5 of our PE teachers are adaptive PE trained. And so that was another success that I continue to watch and refine.
That's a really nice partnership we have with UNH now too.
Absolutely.
Just Dr. McNamara is a great support to us.
He's
We
an
get a lot
email
of
away.
interns placed. It's awesome.
Yep. So this is sort of heavy at the beginning. So if we go back to so states have a review process where they can review your compliance. That's going to be a slide here in a minute. But some states have like an improvement process on top of that. So it's not just about checking the boxes and the dates. It's about what are you doing. And so when you have states with those combined processes, you have a unique opportunity to do a root cause analysis of why students with disabilities aren't performing where they should be on state assessments. And here's the answer that comes out of all of them. I mean, there's lots of different answers, but consistently through all those studies, even ones I've participated in, the statement is always made at the end that we're taking the kids out of the resource room too much. And this is why. Resource room is a skills-based curriculum. If you have difficulty reading, we're going to tailor the plan to teach you what you're missing in reading, right? But if you're not in English language arts for that, you're missing writing instruction, you're missing speaking, you're missing listening, you're missing all these things. And then, after we take you out of the general setting and we give you this skills instruction, we put you back in the general setting and have you tested off of everything they learned on a state assessment, and then we wonder why you don't perform. That's the answer. So, Mrs. Biniskevich, the building administration, the curriculum office, the superintendent, pushed for us to do the core and more. And so at the elementary school, that was the, they'd go to, they'd be pulled out, that's the way it is. And Great Works, they've got some scheduling difficulties, but, they've got what they can. But at the upper levels, that shift was work and still continues to be work, right? So we do that. Most kids either get regular ed instruction, co-teaching, and then an additional period of instruction if they need it on top of that to address those skill deficits that keeps them in that general setting. Now, that creates differentiation issues for general education, and we're aware of that. We've talked about that. We're developing plans to deal with that. But, it's similar to the quote that I put up there. If you remember, 60 years later, the Supreme Court had determined something entirely different about separate but equal was okay, right? But what we see here is that when we do that, we're providing, it's not equal. And so, again, lots of work over 5 years. I'm proud of the people who have participated in that, and I'm proud of the enthusiasm that I hope we develop when it comes to other areas. Yes,
SWD, would you clarify?
students with disabilities.
Thank you.
So believe it or
I
not,
was
so,
gonna feel stupid when I heard the answer.
well, no, you know what? The reviewer at home pointed that out to me half an hour before the presentation. So I try to stay away from words like special education students because people shorten that to SPED, and then kids get in trouble at school for calling kids SPED, and it's something that we actually created. So I try to use the students with disabilities, just so you know. Unified sports was always, and did anybody go last night? Because what can you tell me? I missed it.
So good. And the Great Works coming out at halftime, I sent a picture to the board and I
did.
was like,
So
it is the
good.
best thing for
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah.
I was texting with Mrs. Goulet about a problem, and she's like, sorry, I can't take your call right now. I'm at the Unified game. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
So I missed it. Anyway, and this is through school-based efforts. This had nothing to do with me, other than they're special ed kids, so I get to say good job. We now offer unified sports from 4th grade up through 12th grade.
Awesome.
Where we only used to offer it, in high school.
Yeah.
And
Not very long ago.
yeah, and again, your PE teachers are like
Yes.
instrumental in all of this.
Can I ask
Sure.
what sports you do?
Oh, where's Mr. Buzzle? Basketball.
Bocce.
Bocce.
And thinking about volleyball? Is
Yeah,
that the
thinking
next
about
one?
volleyball.
Thought?
Yeah. Yeah, basketball's the big one. That's a crowd.
Basketball's a
I gotta
crowd,
say,
Super crowd pleaser.
the first time I went to, look, this is a sporty kind of school, right?
Yeah.
Like your football, you've been here, right? And so I would go to sporting events because my kid played and everything. The first time I went to a unified game and all those student athletes show up
Yes,
for those kids
yes.
is impressive.
That gym
Yeah.
is packed.
Yes,
Packed.
and then the athletes that have graduated, that participated years
Yep.
past are there, and it's just
Yep,
like,
for the
yeah,
halftime shot.
lasting relationships, and now they're on
For the
ice,
halftime
and
shot,
It's so
Rollinsford kid,
good. So good.
the halftime. But I did want to put up there, look, it's fun and it makes people feel good, but it actually is good for people. If you look at the data,
Yes.
the rates of obesity and unhealthiness in the disabled population is much higher than the typical population. And the more time we can spend in unified sports or adaptive PE or anything else trying to encourage those healthy habits, hopefully will prolong somebody's life and give them a higher quality of life, right? So, main care. So this one was a lot of me, but it was more your social workers. So prior to last year, you were billing about $45,000 a year in main core reimbursements for speech and language services, PT services, and OT services, and you were not capturing your Section 65 and Section 68, Section 65 and Section 28 reimbursements from main care. When we did, our revenues rose. is hard work for your social workers. It's a complex system. I'd love to explain it to you over the course of 3 or 4 board meetings. But they deserve a lot of credit and praise for what they did. And it wasn't always willingly. You know, it was a lot of walking through and cajoling, and it's, you know, change is hard. But they did it, and they did it well. And
Wow.
we'll continue to work on that
Has it
because,
gotten easier for them?
1 year.
Yeah.
well,
1 year,
I think
yeah.
everything, you know, honestly, Mrs. Flynn, I think everything's easy until you get this conflictual message from the government to the Mills administration about autism services, and then because you've worked on this, you start to get anxious when it has nothing to do with anything, right? So, you know, I think there's always a struggle when you have professionals when it comes to this is, you know, this is what we need to do, and, you know, struggling with how to dissect. It's a complex thing. Other Medicaid systems in other states are very simple.
Yeah.
Maine, like, Section 65 means the rules for these kids. Section 28 means the rules for these kids. Section 22 means this. Section 60 means nursing. And there's all different rules in all reimbursements, right? So one of the things that I'd like to do is expand to capture some of our BCBA services under reimbursable, but it's got to wait for other, you know what I mean? It's like not something that I can tend to right now. Board certified behavior analyst. So, and we spent a fair amount of money on that. But it's going to take me a while to figure out how we're going to do that. To implement Main Care took about 1.5 years.
Yeah. I wonder about the amount of time that social workers are coding stuff
Well,
versus doing their real work. It's kind of the
I
same.
hear you, right?
Yeah.
But I also know that most licensed clinical social workers across the spectrum bill,
Yeah.
whether they're billing insurance, whether
That's
they're,
true.
right? That is
Even
part
in
of it,
private
right?
practice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I hear exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying, though. I do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it was a heavy lift for the social workers. It was a heavy lift for the ed techs. You know, your ed techs are required to become BHPs to reimburse those services. Your BCBA provider provides an hour of supervision for all your BHPs every week that they have to go to, because that's what you have to do to bill. So it's work on the social workers putting together the plans, it's work on the case managers, making sure the IEP is aligned, it's worked with the related service providers, and it's worked for the BHPs. But, you know, I try to look at this, right? If we have revenue, and I know it's not this simple, because we have to go through the process, but, you know, revenues offset expenses in the end. And, you know, special education can be expensive. But recovering some of that through an allowable source is,
Yeah.
right. So I hear you 100%. Believe me, I heard that from more than just you.
I bet. That's great.
Pre-K programming, you had a massive presentation on this, so I wasn't going to labor the fact that you now have pre-K programming in the last 5 years. And that has been one of the most professionally rewarding experiences of my career, because in New Hampshire, I did it, I left, I was here for 6 years, and then I got to do it again, and I remembered how to do it, and I was like, wow, I missed this. So, you know the history. You know that we have a coordinator, and then we serve somewhere between 45 and 60 students a year, in the ages of 3 and 4. So it's a good thing. Rollinsford Special Ed Administration Services was new this year. So we're in the first year providing these services. I've already told you at the other meeting, you have a 2-day-a-week coordinator there. I'm there. Mrs. Beniskevich is there to help out. We provide the LEA services everywhere except they use their own coordinator for 504. But I give oversight, and you know, if I needed to go to a meeting, I would do that. Some 504 guidance, human rights consultation, which is the same as affirmative action in New Hampshire. It's typically a special ed person that does that in New Hampshire. So I don't do the full, but I offer the consultation, and Heidi will offer consultation too.
Remind me what LEA is.
Local Education Agency.
Okay.
So the LE, so what I was talking, so in the previous meeting, I was talking about, we're still the LEA if they go to Dover. So
Okay,
that was my reference.
Yeah.
So, local education agency. Yeah, but it is surmountable. I believe that. But building new systems every day. Not every day, but it's a doable thing right now. And I appreciate it. It's fun. So a couple of years ago when we started, so this ties into your out-of-district placement, so just keep that in the back of your head, is that when I'm strengthening programming, it's because they see a population issue. So we needed a life skills program back at the middle school. We had kids within district that needed that program. So we started that program up, and lo and behold, on February 23rd, you have a student entering the middle school life skills program from Margaret Murphy Center, who's being returned from out-of-district placement. And so it worked in that instance, and we'll continue to, and it's about what, so just to explain to you, Margaret Murphy will call me, they're like, we think this kid's ready to come back, but we want to come observe your program. And so they come and observe the program, and then they'll make a quiet recommendation. You need this, 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 and this.
Wow.
They're going, they're observing, they're transitioning. So, that's working out fine. Adaptive Field Day. Adaptive Field Day, I think we're in our 5th year. We tried to figure it out today.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Because it was a COVID response where they weren't doing Special Olympics. We
yeah.
put together Adaptive Field Day, and it was a hit.
Yeah.
And it was a hit for reasons we didn't even realize. As I walked through the first Adaptive Field Day, and I had the parent of a significantly disabled student who I had just brought back from out of District 2 that year, say to me, we didn't know there were so many other families with disabled people. This is so nice. So, I had, the Special Olympics thing, it was, are we isolating ourselves? You have those internal debates with yourself. They still have access to that. But to hear parents say that, or to watch parents with students with disabilities talk, hopefully they're talking about me, something I've done or been accused of. But, it's just really nice to see that.
Yeah.
And then to watch the kids, right, is really striking. So way prior to the CDS transition, you probably didn't know this completely, but you were on the cutting edge because CDS had approached me my first year when I was naive and new and thought we could do, had a lot of energy, is, hey, we're having to place a lot of kids at like Waypoint and this and that. Could you help us out, right? And so I tried to put together a cost-even program. It was relatively cost-even, but it wasn't perfect. But we were able to take kids from more than just us and teach them and keep them not in and out of district placement, right? And then when it comes time to transition, you're leaving public school and going to public school, and that's really easy compared to going from out of district placement to public school. There's a different expectations, there's a different level of service, there's a different, right? So, it has reduced the need for students to be placed in out of district placement. Absolutely, 100%. And has served, kids from all over the place. And continues to be in place today and continues to be full. So. That was, we were the earliest adopters, we just didn't know it. So we had a federal compliance office, super fun, takes like a year. Everybody gets one. It's not like you're naughty and you get one. It's like you're on a cycle. Everybody's on a cycle. And so in our compliance review, hey, we were number 2. You could get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I'll take a 2. We got a 2. And that corrective action was like less than 10 things. We corrected them, moved on, 100% in compliance. Good process, actually. Very good process. We expanded career pathways at Marshwood High School by accident. Actually, the state did it to us. So when they extended from 21 to 22 for students with disabilities, They created a bubble, right? Because now we've got kids from, if it's appropriate, from 9th grade through the age of 21. Now we're going 9th grade to the age of 22, so we put another band in there. And so now we've got more life skills kids than we had before because of that change. We also have life skills kids because we have that population. We also have a lot of life skills kids because they're not going out of district. You only have 3 high school out of district placements slated for next year. So we've had to expand career opportunities and internships. And so essentially, you know, I don't know the whole scope and sequence in detail, but basically in year 1, you're learning resumes and interviews and this and that. And then you're actually going out to a job placement. You know, sometimes it's Seacoast Printing and other places, and kids get a lot of support at the beginning, and then we fade that support, and our hope is that when we're 22, you are like employable, right? That's the goal. So we got that going. And you've had Rollinsford kids participate in that in the past. I just want to let you know. Actually, you got one right now. So again, that might be duplicative, but we enjoy working with the superintendent. We enjoy working with everybody at Rollinsford. Improve behavioral services at Marshwood High School and Marshwood Middle School. This is a work in process all the time because kids sometimes will like loosen the threads of the system and then you have to go revisit the system and tighten it back up, right? Because that's a good system. So we're constantly, you know, Mr. Elwell, Ms. Baldick at the middle school are always dealing with kids with some diverse needs and shifting and talking and problem solving. And, you know, our data shows that, again, in our out-of-district data, it shows we're able to maintain more kids than we were before. So let's look to the future. So your students with disabilities consistently perform above the state average. That's great news. Is it? I think we need to do better because the numbers don't look good, even though you're above the state average. I mean, there's students with disabilities, there's things to be taken into consideration, but what can we do? How can we improve those outcomes for kids? How can we, you know, test their knowledge and skills? What can we do, right? We're great, we're above the state average. But that's where, but we're not where we want to be. So we'll continue to look at that. Continuum of service, big word, it means like a continuum of placement. So what happened was in one of the buildings, you have regular ed, then it's a little more restrictive, right? And so in that shift to the core and more, they removed resource room services. So we have to take a look at, for those kids that might need more than a co-teaching model, you know, there's going to be a population, we're shifting that and looking at that and trying to make sure our continuum, you know, makes sense and is linear. And then as I said with BCBA services, I'll continue to look at revenue sources that offset our expenses. More will come up that we're working on in the future. But, you know, been at this for a while. In 6 years, I think you've achieved a lot. No, it's not me, it really isn't. You know, I'll encourage and help people and let them know my expectations, but they're the one doing the work, and they're doing a really, really nice job. So that's it.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, I take questions. If you want more detail, let Heidi know. I'll make you a pretty presentation with detail. But thank you for having me, and that's it.
Really helpful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks so much.
All right, so I just have a couple quick other things on my agenda for tonight. You made me think of something, Joe, when you, it's okay.
Sorry.
When you were talking about your experience in DC,
Yes.
you mentioned Tim Wise and as a speaker, and it reminded me to let the board know that I was able to secure Joe Sanfilippo, who spoke at the fall conference last year, to come to Maine and work with our regional administrators in August.
Oh,
he was,
amazing.
Great.
Oh, that's great.
Talking about culture and
Yes.
branding and like
Yes,
getting our message
yes,
out.
yes.
So fun.
Oh,
So
that's really
fun. So-
exciting.
I'm very excited for him to come, and we're going to partner with York and Noble and Kittery.
Awesome.
That's so
Great.
good.
That's great.
It'll be awesome.
Awesome.
And the last thing on my report is just a little bit of information. Officer Gavoni is here. We have an action item later under new business around a gun safe. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on that before we get to the new business portion. And Officer Gavoni came to me with a request to install a gun safe at the middle school. We have one here at the high school in Officer McLeod's office. And we just, you know, it's one of those things, it's a locked safe. It will be behind a locked door in an office space. It's not going to be out in public, but I just wanted you to know that that's new business, and it might sound weird because it's a little bit of a different ask. So if you have questions, Officer Gavoni's here. Thank you for coming and being here tonight. Otherwise, it'll come up later. Great. And that's all I have. And
No
we
students
do
today.
not have any students tonight,
no
so
students today.
sad, but.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No correspondence on which to report. Committee reports. F&F met earlier this evening before our workshop with the folks from Rollinsford. And I'll do the numbers, and Heather, you can do the rest. So January was a 3 payroll month, so the $2-ish or so million general cash balance in our last report is now down to just a little over $1 million, which is still in the green, still where we want to be. So that's good. I think generally, I think we're at maybe 0.5% below the sort of 12-year even expenditure for this point, and expenditures are slightly over revenues, but that'll right itself over the coming months. Just look quickly, adult education, there was some money that came in this past month from Kittery, as well as our state subsidy and assessments. So it's currently sitting year-to-date, adult education, as 30,000 or so in the black. So there'll be, I think, one more payment from Kittery later, but this is the point of the year where we typically get above zero, then kind of sort of glide slope to zero by the end. So that's all looking right where it needs to be. Federal grant money, some Title I came in. I think we're showing a year-to-date of 216,000 in the red, but that's all expected to catch up over the course of the rest of the year. Food service, we're behind a month on that as always, so this is through December rather than through January. But revenues look good. The net addition for the month of December was a little over 8,000 positive. The year-to-date number shows 61,000 negative, but that doesn't include the December subsidy that didn't make it into that report. So it looks like it's running maybe a tiny bit behind where it was last year, but no, that was participation. I think we're in good shape with food service, is the point. That concludes the numbers.
Yeah. In terms of just other updates, Marshwood Middle School Sewer Project, the administration has contacted Teagan and Bond, and they're exploring engaging with their services to assist in a grant proposal to the Maine Department of Environmental Protection for a sewer project at Marshwood Middle School. Available funding includes like grant money that does not require repayment, as well as like low interest loans, approximately at 3%, which is great, to help fund the project. So that's starting very soon, and hopefully we can get that sorted out. And then in terms of the central office, we have some heating issues in central office in the upstairs area of the central office, and because of these cold days, you know, on several occasions, we're trying to prevent the pipes from freezing. So over the summer, we may need to insulate an addition area up there just to prevent frozen pipes, etc. And obviously, keep the building warm when it's supposed to be warm. And budget planning, Todd, Heidi, and Ryan have been meeting with the cost center administrators to review proposed projects for next year, and they'll develop these projects in the upcoming budget and report out to us as we go through our budget planning. In terms of transportation update, van drivers, we have a driver that's moving on at the end of the month. We currently have 2 applicants moving through the process. If both are successfully hired, then we'll only be 1 van driver short at the end of the month. So again, we're looking for van drivers, so reach out if you're interested. We have a fantastic bus mechanic, and he has obtained both his passenger and school bus endorsements, and he will be available to drive buses only in emergencies, but he obviously will not be used for daily route driver, but he is getting that CDL license, so it will help us out in a pinch. In terms of food service, our food service participation is currently slightly below last year's levels. Not much, only around like 70-ish down, but just that's it for the updates.
Thank you.
Great. Like from 70?
No, 70 people down, I thought you said.
It's like 2%.
2%.
Oh, 2%.
2% to like 70%.
Oh, okay, 2%, not 70 people.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. 2% down.
Okay, Ed Policy will next meet on the 25th of this month, and SEL will next meet on April 1st. There is no March meeting.
Right.
Because of the things we've had to do with our March schedule.
Can I ask that we, oh, sorry.
No, go.
Just one more thing before we get into the policies and whatnot. Could we have an update on the superintendent search for the public?
Applications are still coming in.
Yep.
We got an additional one this week. It's still open. It will be open until March 15th.
March 15th, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good.
Just
Thank you.
had the question a lot.
Okay, that concludes report of the committees and brings us to new business. First item is with regard to the administrator's contract. Can I have a motion, please, to approve that?
I move to approve the 2026 to 2027 administrator's contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
Heather, thank you. Okay, let's discuss. First of all, just in the interest of full transparency, the process that gets used and has been used in the district for as long as I've been on the board, because the administrators are not a collective bargaining unit, our negotiations committee does not typically get involved with the discussions around the 3-year administrator's contract. In years past, typically the superintendent would conduct those discussions with the administrators around what ought to be in there or what ought not to be in there, and then bring it to the board for approval. And that's the process that we followed this year, with one notable addition, and that is that because Heidi knew that she was in the position of acting as the interim superintendent while also potentially being on the benefiting end of that contract later when we get a new superintendent, she asked that one of our members of our negotiations committee participate, and Heather did. So Heather sat in on those discussions as well.
Gotcha.
So that's how we got to the contract that is under consideration. And as you all know, of course, in executive session last week, we got a review of what went into that. I am not sure that our board, that some of you felt like you had sufficient time to internalize all of those things, and that there may be some concerns. So I think this is a good time before we vote to express some of those concerns.
Do you want me to go?
Go ahead,
Yeah, you can
Rebecca,
go
please.
first.
I just had one small thing that I wanted to point out.
Yep.
And I just didn't know if it was clear to any of you, but when it's discussing under the compensation, at the superintendent's discretion, that they can increase the individual contracts above COLA, It just was unclear if they were to get board approval to do that. I know that's common, and I think that's our practice as a district to do that, but just the language doesn't support that process, so I don't know if we should include that in the, does that
I'm
make
not sure if we
sense?
need the language in the contract or if we just need to have a procedure that that's what we would do. I'm not
Okay.
sure. I guess it's up to you. We talked about potentially setting an executive session if we needed to do that.
Okay.
Well, maybe,
Made sense.
That makes sense.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a great suggestion. And I was able to sit and listen through the negotiations, and I thought it was done very professionally. It was done really well. I have nothing to say in that regards. I do want to say that, because I know many in the community are concerned about obviously the budget and spending and things like that. And while we do pay our administrators and our teachers a good salary, like the top in the state or close to it. And I think that the data that was presented to us is really important as we go into the budget season in terms of how much money we allocate per pupil and how the inequity of that, and just looking at, okay, well, we've got I don't think we have had a retention issue for administrators or teachers. I think the majority of our educators get those longevity, and what's happening is every year, like it's gonna roll and roll, where we're not gonna be able to fiscally sustain ourselves without asking the community to pay more taxes. And I think it's just important to say, because we are at the lower end in terms of how much we're spending per pupil, and I just encourage you all to really think about that and like how we want to move forward, because I think a lot of these contracts with the teachers and the administrators have been, it's set a certain way, and it's been going this way for many years. And I know I had a concern when we were doing the teachers, and I voiced it, teachers contract in terms of we can't pay some of our teachers the same amount as our administrators, and there has to be a gap, because that's what the right thing is to do. But we're getting to a point where we're not going to be able to sustain. And so I think it's really important that if you all also have those concerns, that you speak up and that you say something.
Thank you. I will take the floor on that note. Thank you so much for so eloquently expressing what sometimes it's hard for me to express. That is exactly the issue, exactly what you just said, is because of the way that we have the contracts and the fact that we do need to have some separation between principals and assistant principals, between the superintendent and the principals, and between the administrators, the rest of the administrators and the educators. We're getting ourselves into, I think this is going to get interesting over time. And I know that there's some of this, we've made some really good changes. I think the last couple of rounds of contracts, we're heading in the right direction to make that as minimal of an issue as possible. But I do think we're at the point where maybe we should have an executive session to really dive into that bigger picture situation that we found ourselves in. So I agree with Heather on that. No, not that this isn't fine. That one is not meaning the other. Yeah.
One of the things we talked about last week when we were going through the contract was the awkwardness of the timing of the administrator
Yeah.
contract being negotiated the year before the teacher contract,
That's a good
and
point.
having it be a 3-year contract that was tied to the teacher contract,
That's
but
right.
negotiated beforehand, so that felt very strange.
Yeah, that's a good
So
point.
we decoupled them this time, which I think is really a smart thing.
Yep.
And I think it will help us have that conversation.
Yeah.
But I do think before we dig in with teachers next year, it would be a really good time to sit
Okay.
and map everything out and see
Everything
where we're
out
at.
as a whole.
So that we get a
Yeah.
clear picture going into that process
Yes.
of what the target is that we're shooting for.
Okay, perfect. That's wonderful to hear. I think that's a great plan.
Sounds great.
Great. One last comment, and that is that Kate reached out because she couldn't be here tonight and asked me to make sure that I spoke on her behalf. And it was precisely the equity question, the question about the equitable spending students versus administrators. So, point was already made.
Awesome.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Okay, that's 5-0. Thank you. Very good. Motion, please, with regard to the request to install a gun safe at Marshwood Middle School.
I move to approve the request to install a gun safe at Marshwood Middle School.
Second, Lisa?
Lisa, thank you. So we've heard the discussion. Any other questions, comments?
Who has access to this gun safe? I guess I do have questions. Yeah, I mean, I think
Take a minute.
I'm just gonna, you know what, he's here, and it's like,
Brought some stuff for you
and
to
I would
see.
love for you to share anything you have to share with us.
Only prints 5 copies, so that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I forgot, 'cause, like, we were able to talk about it in the facilities.
Oh,
advice,
okay,
So I'm really
okay.
glad that
Thank you.
you're mentioning
Okay.
it now and.
I mean, I
talking
think
about it.
our community wants to know the answers and more information, yeah.
It would just be the police department. No one in
Yeah.
the school.
Okay.
No one who works for the school.
Can you,
Oh,
is this
yeah.
the mic working? Okay.
Yeah, it would just be members of Elliott Police Department. That's
Okay.
the only people who would have access to the
Okay.
safe. And the nice thing about it, as you see in front of you, it's pretty nondescript. It doesn't look like a traditional gun safe you can go buy at Trading Post. It actually kind of looks like a ballot box is what I compare it to. And there's enough space for me to house other things in it besides a firearm. So, you know, things that I seize from students, which doesn't happen often, but it does. And instead of me throwing it in a drawer with just a locked key that's not secure to the ground or running out to my car and hopefully not forgetting about it by the end of the day, it would be in a secure place for long periods of time. And same thing, like if I have critical documents or anything like that, it could also be housed in that safe.
And from our perspective, in addition to this being a secured unit, we will be creating an office space for Officer Gavoni that has locking doors, and he will have his own secure space, so it'll be a double layer.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
All in favor? Okay, done. Thank you. 5-0. Motion, please, with regard to the second read and adoption on DN.
I move to approve the second reading and adoption of policy DN, property disposal.
Second, Jen.
Jen, thank you. No changes from first read. The only change was
The amount.
just update
The
the
amount
amount.
of money?
Yeah.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Okay, that's 5-0. Good, thank you. Motion, please, with regard to second read and adoption on EHB.
I move to approve the second reading of policy EHB, records management.
Second, Lisa.
Lisa, thank you. Same thing, no changes. Questions, comments? All in favor? Okay, 5-0, and that is a done deal. That concludes the business, brings us to building administrator check-in.
And I just wanted to say that
That's you.
Principal Goulet sends her regrets. She is at family
Bingo
bingo night.
Bingo
tonight.
night.
So she was, well, she doesn't wish she was here because she's having a lot of fun at bingo.
Yes, I was
But
gonna
she's
say.
Sorry to miss you.
Yeah, I don't have my usual lead-in. I'm used to sorry, you mentioned learning from Maine earlier.
Yes,
We had that presentation at the Maine Principals Association, which we went to in November. Derek Pierce, the retired principal from Casco Bay, is leading that up. It's fantastic. You can look at it on YouTube. They do great stories about it. I shared it with our faculty as well, just to get a sense of the stories we can tell about the worth of public education. Is really rewarding. So I think it's a fantastic thing to know about. So it's really, really great. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And high school this week. It's been about yonder.
Whoa.
We met with our grades students today and yesterday, 9th, 10th yesterday, 11th, 12th today, and overviewed the new policies about cell phones, which are coming into effect on February the 23rd. So they all know, and they've all received their Yonder pouch. They got them all as well. They're all numbered, so they have their associated pouch. when they come into the building from the arrival, when the first bus gets here until they're dismissed at 2:15. The cell phones get turned off and go in their pouch and get sealed up. This one I checked, it works, it's okay. They'll find this magnet at 2:15 and they get their cell phone back. So we are ready to start. We have supervision in the morning. We have everything figured out at the end of the day to have a space where we won't have cell phones in the building anymore. So not in our classrooms, in our study halls, in our lunch room, in our hallways, we'll be able to move into a very different space. So we're very excited about that positive change. We're grateful for everyone helping us with that. Grateful for our students listening today so they know the same things well. And they had a chance to practice today as well, which is great. We discovered one defective pouch, around 600 or so that we distributed, so that's pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, we're all set to go. So that's really been the main agenda this week at the high school is getting our Yonder pouches, getting them ready. Otherwise, we have a Spirit Week this week with our students who aren't here, but they're showing spirit in the building. By leading that, we had a dress-up day on Monday. We have some spirit activities on Friday. It was led by the student government. That was their initiative, so thank you to the student government for getting that going. Nice way to end our little not semester, because it's only just started until we have our break on February the 13th, and then come back. Also, we just started into second semester, so usually people are back in their classes. But the most important thing to mention, I guess, is that March 18th, we'll have our welcome evening at the high school for families coming up from 8th grade to come and get a sense of what it's like to be at the high school. So myself, Mr. Buzzell, and Ms. Goulet should be there, and Ms. Edson should be there as well. Counsellor, just to orient our families to the building, give them a sense of what it's like to be in high school. Looking forward to meeting what will be the class of 2030.
That's
So
crazy.
in case you're wondering if you are feeling old, yes. That's 2030 is coming. And lastly, just a big thanks to the Global Citizenship Club and the students who came to participate and led the Midwinter Alpine Dance and Bonfire, which was held on Friday, January the 30th. We might have been able to find a colder night, but I don't think it was possible. It was freezing cold. But a really nice dance was had, a really great bonfire was had. It was needed because, as I said, it was freezing cold. And I'm just grateful to all the drivers who drove past the high school at about 9:30 and didn't panic that they thought it was on fire. It wasn't. We told the fire department. Our SI road checked as well, so we had a really nice night. But it was a great inaugural midwinter dance and bonfire. So thanks to everyone who came. That's life at the high school.
Heard some good things
Thank you
about
so
that.
much.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Any last thoughts from the board? In which case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
All in favor? It's 5-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I get the
Thank
bang
you.
again. Thank you all for coming.
Joe, do you have any idea when that October conference is going to be?
Yes,
Oh, you do?
I think I know
I
the
want to
exact
just get
dates.
it in.
I think I know the exact
It's
dates.
usually like the third weekend, like end of the
It
third
is,
week.
yeah. It's